Hey everyone, 15 mil history here. A little while ago I said I was going to get some Napoleonic War Prussians. I was planning on doing an unboxing video. Let's just say I got a little excited and I started painting these guys up. Sorry I can't get my camera to focus, my battery's a little low. But overall, I'm enjoying painting them. So Miniature Realms did a series. There we go, perfect. Miniature Realms finally kicked in. Miniature Realms finally did a video. He's done two videos. He did one on land. No, he kept calling them landwehr, and no, it's W's and V's. So landwehr and some infantry. He didn't do a video on cavalry, but haha, look at me, I outflanked him, lol. I have to say, these are really nice figures. They're not super detailed. See if these will... Oh, my stupid camera will work. So these are the guys with the spears, lances I should say. Those are Ulans. These guys here, there we go, perfect, it's kicking in now. These guys are Jaegers, volunteer Jaegers. So these guys wear green, grey, and red. And I think these guys here are Hussars. These guys are Hussars, I think. With they don't have a police. I think some of them might, but overall most of them don't. And then we've got some cannons over here. So I've been trying to do some reading. I've got a couple of Osprey books about the Prussians. There's a really good book, and I don't know. The library just has an online copy, and it basically details all the major factions in the Napoleonic Wars. So obviously England, Spain, France, Prussia, Russia. The minor German factions, so like Württemberg, Saxony, Bavaria. It basically just talks about like what they were doing militarily, who was in their army, the state of their cavalry, their infantry, their artillery, and I think it even goes into the state of their generals. So these guys are Prussian dragoons. They're pretty nice. I think they're from the 1st Regiment, I think. They're not like, it's not a super great job. I mean, I'm not highlighting or anything. I tried something new, so I contrasted the faces. I'm pretty happy with how they came out. I'm not too worried about doing the chin straps. I'm just a bit lazy. But overall, I think with these figures, I think the key to doing them is do them in a rhythm and batch paint. So at the moment, on my little painting table, I've got them on popsicle sticks with blue tack. I don't know what the Americans or the British call it. I don't know what it's called. But basically, put them on horizontally and then just paint them, and then paint specific details. So paint the horse first, and then do I think they called a lit vicar or something, is the jacket that they have. Overall these are pretty nice figures. They're not intimidating to paint. Not really. There are a lot of them, but the thing is that if you were doing, like, I love the Perrys, don't get me wrong, the Perrys are brilliant. But the thing with the Perrys is the Napoleonics are incredible. At some point I would love to get a Bagration, a mounted Bagration model. I think he's probably one of my favorite Napoleonic War generals. But if you were painting a whole 28 mil army of Bagratians, like Russian infantry, or like with officers and everything, you'd be driven mad. And black powder requires a lot of troops to be painted. I think, like, in all due honesty, I think this is a really good medium for Warlord games. I really hope they expand this range. And well, because at the moment they've got three armies for the Napoleonic Wars. They've got Prussia, England, and France. And I've got a friend doing England, and I've got another person I know who's doing the French. So yeah, no, they're really nice figures. They go contrast works a treat with them. It's really good. These are predominantly using AK and Vallejo's with a couple of G-dub paints thrown in for the mix, i.e. the contrast. They've been washed with Nuln oil, and then I'm going to give them a varnish later on. I don't know too much about the thing. I did a bit of German history at uni. I'm not like a handy on like the ins and outs of German history. I know a bit, but I'm not an expert. But yeah, Prussia I think, was the largest state in that area because Germany doesn't exist. Germany doesn't exist until I think it's around the 1840s. Germany becomes a thing, and it's basically Prussia goes to war with the minor German states and basically just absorbs them because there's Bavaria and Bavaria is one of the big ones. Württemberg and Saxony. Those are like the big three, and I think there's a few more there too. There's Westphalia and yeah. But anyway, Prussia was hatched from a cannonball. It's not like it wasn't a gigantic place. No, and they needed a good standing military, and the Prussian army really explodes, I think, in like the 7 Years' War. It becomes very, very well known with Frederick the Great kind of kicking around in Europe, being supported by England, I think it was. And in that time, the Prussian military becomes very, very effective and very, 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 very effective. And then Prussia becomes a very dominant force. When you get to the Napoleonic Wars, though, Prussia's a bit of a basket case. Yeah, a little bit. They try to take on France single handedly, almost. I think in like just after the Battle of Austerlitz, like is it Frederick William III is King of Prussia at the time, and he's basically a bit of a ditherer, and he basically tries to solo Napoleon and gets absolutely crushed. And in that time, the thing with the Prussian military, and we'll get to why I'm talking about them, is that they didn't have the greatest. I mean, they had very good cavalry, decent infantry, and everything. But I think one of the reasons why the Prussians were so effective is they had people that thought outside the box. Um, and you had Clausewitz, who's still read widely today in a lot of military academies. You've got von Clausewitz, Gneisenau, Gneisenau. I think I don't know if it's Gneisenau or Gneisenau. So apologies if the one German who might watch me says. But yeah, he was. A lot of them they thought outside the box, and one of the things that they did, I think it was after the Battle of Auerstadt, I think it is. Basically, Napoleon just tells Prussia to like basically just drop its military right down. And part of the troops that are sent to Russia are Prussians. They form an alliance with the French very briefly near the end of the Napoleonic Wars. So they join the French during the invasion of Russia, where they get absolutely pantsed. And when they get back to Prussia, they're kind of in a bit of a mess, but they're also in a relatively good position because the thing with the Prussians is they came up with a system called the Krumper system. And what the Krumper system is essentially they had their standing army, and then they had their Landwehr, who were essentially like what we would like kind of like what the Americans might call the National Guard or here in New Zealand we call them territorials. So they're like a citizen army, about like part timers that will go out and just get some military skills for the day, and then they get to go home and whatever, and they get paid a bit. It's all good. So basically, what they do is they send people into the military. They have a cutoff. I think it's like 16 to like 45. You have to be in the Landwehr. And they basically send them in, do some drills, train them. And then they take a bit of time, and then they chuck them out again, and then they they basically just become normal walking citizens, and then eventually they go. There'll be another group of people that go through. So it's essentially you're training lots and lots and lots of troops. Like everybody, like if at a pinch you've got your professional army, and then at worst case scenario you can be like, all right, sweet, we've got a shitload of militia that we can call upon, and I think at Waterloo they had Landwehr that were there. And the crazy thing to this day about Prussia and not about Prussia, but about the Napoleonic Wars, is you kind of consider how big Europe is. And these guys essentially walked and rode horses across it. Like, it's absolutely bonkers. But anyway, I thought I would whip out this. So these are the Prussian commanders. So in the middle, we've got Gebhard von Blucher, Gneisenau. I think that's Pirch, and oh yeah, Pirch, and von Zeiten. That's von Zeiten. I don't know too much. I think it was like Gneisenau was Blucher's chief of staff, or it was at least one of the top generals under Blucher. I think Blucher was like the overall like head honcho. Blucher was very old. I think at the Battle of Waterloo, he's about 72. And he dies, I think, in 1819 at the age of about 76. So he was old. He was a serial womanizer. He, I think, was born in Silesia, which is kind of like, because the thing about Prussia is that if we look at like modern Germany is kind of like, it's interesting. It's this very kind of like it's like a fruit, like a descending fruit, like a feijoa kind of, like a weirdly misshapen feijoa. You've got like Denmark in the north and Hanover, which is still part of Germany. I don't know why I brought it up, but it's like you've got the northern bit, and then you've kind of got to like the side when Prussia was a thing. Prussia's sort of like it's got a country in the it's got a country on the left, I think where Berlin is on the left, and I think, and then you've got the Rhine and all its little confederations for part of the Holy Roman Empire, which splits up and then becomes the Confederation of the Rhine under Napoleon. And then I think like further to the right of that, you've got this like weird kind of like cigar shaped thing, which is like a rest of Prussia's territory. And I think in there is where like Silesia is, which is kind of like it's now Poland, I think. And yeah, because like there's a lot of like German Polish people, and I think that's where Gebhard von Blucher was from. And Gebhard von Blucher, he joins the cavalry, he's a hussar commander, I think, and I think he leaves Germany and fights for the Swedes, and he fights for the Swedes, I think, in the 7 Years' War, gets captured, sent back to Germany, and then joins the Prussian army, rises through the ranks, and basically is just like made head honcho of the Prussian forces. He's very talented. He's very aggressive. His whole thing is like marching. He loves martial forwards, I think it's called. Basically, martial go forwards, because that's all he wants to do is just charge. And he can't, like, yeah, he's a decent commander at Waterloo. He doesn't. He turns up at the last minute, kind of saves the day. But prior to that, he gets pantsed. I think at Ligny. I think at Ligny. He doesn't do very well, but he does. He survives. Gneisenau helps out. So Gneisenau is he is. I don't know too much about him, unfortunately. I don't know too much about Perch, unfortunately, and I don't know anything. Oh, von Zeiten. I'm not 100% sure, but he was a talented commander. He died in like 1840. He was very old when he died. Gneisenau, I think, died in 1830 something. Um, he died of cholera. I think him and von Clausewitz died of cholera in like the 1830s. Not a great way to go. You lose a liter of water an hour with cholera. So you can imagine, like, you are, no offense to my younger listeners, you are shitting a lot. So here are the figures. They're pretty nice, I have to say. Very well sculpted. All things considered, they're very small. So, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Let's have a look. Like, they don't come with bases, unfortunately. So I'm probably just gonna. There's a store near me that does bases. And oh, here we go. I'll just have a look. I'll just bring out what's his face. Here's Perch. I mean, look at that. That's incredible. The detail on this is really nice. It's not as daunting as you think. If you get contrast or army painter speed paints, like the miniature realms guys, what miniature realms suggests, you'll be able to chew through these guys no problem at all. I'm not saying my way is better than his. I'm using AK Interactive, not because I think they're superior. It just there's an AK Interactive paint called Dark Prussian Blue and an alternative paint called Light Prussian Blue, and they're kind of like almost the exact like colors that I want and what I need. So I'm kind of like, well, I mean, if you've got them, I may as well use them. But everything else, I'm going to, and I've got so many other paints, and those paints are quite expensive. So the contrast. So I mean, I was stuck with some flesh. Yeah, these guys are really good. If you are considering going in and getting Napoleonics, and you are, I mean, seems sort of counterproductive to promote his channel. Nah, he's all good. I really like his stuff. He does very good practical videos. He gives very good advice, and I think that he kind of breaks down the painting so that it's not intimidating. Because I think a lot of people look at these and go, "Fucking shit! Like this is tough to get through." But it's really not. They're not as bad as what you think they are. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think they're quite good. You just need to, yeah, like I said before, you need to get a rhythm with them. Once you get a rhythm with them, it's really easy. They're a little bit easier to paint than pike and shot figures, just because I think the main reason for that is because these guys are more uniform than the other ones. Like there's a lot of like individual details that you have to worry about pike and shot figures, and you're thinking it's sort of like a two-way street with pike and shot. Like you're thinking, okay, I've got to do these shoes. I mean, these shoes this way. I've got to do these socks this way. I've got to do these this sash this way, and it's like it's all well and good, but I think the problem soon quickly becomes you're kind of you have to constantly keep like making conscious effort of, oh shit, I have to swap out this paint to move to this paint to move to this paint to move to this paint. And it's kind of difficult. There's like always paints that are always chopping up your style. With Napoleonics, these guys are all uniformed. So they're not. They're way more uniform. The paints for them are relatively easy to find. I would recommend you check out his videos if you ever want to do Prussians or any of the other factions. But I beat him to it. I have a Prussian cavalry video, and he doesn't. Ha ha ha. But he's a great great YouTube channel, and I would highly recommend you check it out. The other reason why I would also recommend you check out that channel is that he put up a video in his video description. There's a painting guide, not a painting guide, but it's like a uniform guide for like all the factions that were at Waterloo, and they've got one on the dragoons, and it's in French. It's a bit annoying, but just translate it. It's fine. These are these are the first regiment of dragoons. I can't remember what regiment it is. I think it's Regiment Squadron 1, Regiment 1, I think it is. And yeah, no, they're not too bad. And he's got a link to that website. So it's not so bad in terms of painting them. The other thing as well, one of the things I really like about painting Prussians too, is that Landwehr are very simple. They're very straightforward. All you have to worry about with Landwehr is what cuffs they have. In terms of painting all of them, I have to say the Austrians are the easiest, because Austrians are basically just like what we would call Games Workshop Wraithbone, off-white, and then you pick a color in terms of your cuffs, and then paint the cuffs and some of the trim on their uniforms, like the collar, yeah, and you just boom, done. Yeah, and they're really cool. The one thing is though is that, like, I mean, this isn't calling out Warlord as I proceed to mildly do it. It's a real shame. I think these figures are great. I think the starter sets are great value. They all come with rule books, they all come with terrain, and they all come with dice. I mean, dice is kind of but the rule book is really cool, and the dice is really cool too. My only complaint is the Napoleonic starter set. There's no Napoleonic starter set for two people. It's a one player drop purchase, which is a bit disappointing. But the sets that you get are really, really good. And yeah, it is a bit of a shame, because I think a lot more people would probably get it if there was like a two player starter set of like French versus British or whatever. I'm not trying to be. I mean, I understand why they did Waterloo, because they're a British company. It's maybe one of the biggest battles that the British were involved in. It's also one of the last, and it's also the last that kind of gets Napoleon out of the Napoleonic Wars. And I understand why they did that. But the one that I'm the most interested in is Leipzig, which is also known as Battle of the Nations. And that one's crazy because you've got England is there with some rocket artillery, Sweden, Prussia, Russia, Austro-Hungary. I think Saxony is in there too, as well as the French. It's a massive battle, and it's the first. It's interesting because everyone sort of, Waterloo is pretty important, but everyone kind of forgets about Leipzig. I think that's because like Napoleon had a resurgence after that. But I really hope they do. Leipzig. They do some of the Leipzig factions. I'd love to see Russians. I'd definitely love to see Austrians. I think Russians or Austrians. Russians would be really fun. They're not a hard army to paint either, speaking from experience. And I think they look great. They're not hard to paint. They're very easy. They're very straightforward. Not at all. And they look intimidating because they've got a lot of red, white, which But if you get the right whites, if you get like a Vallejo off white, like it's really not that hard. And you just put a quick shade over the top. It's fine. Oh, but it's not the right white. No, it's fine. Just put off white. It makes things so much easier. Don't worry about brilliant white. It got dirtier, got faded in the sun. It's fine. I really hope they do them. The Russians would be cool. I also like to see some other minor factions. Like, I reckon Spain could be good for a laugh. Like, if they did a Peninsular War campaign, that would be really fun. Spain versus Portugal and England with, like, guerrillas. Because, like, I don't know. I'm not super skilled. I've never played a game of Black Powder, and I'm going to be getting into it at my local hobby store. But the thing is like the Spanish and Black Powder, from what little I've seen from another wargaming channel, his Spain is terrible. They are a horde faction. They've got lots and lots of infantry that are very bad at like taking like orders. Like they just don't care. They're pretty good. They're pretty terrible. But I think I don't know if what other they must have some upside then. But yeah, no, they're not great. But I think that would be a cool faction to add. I think that the scale of vigor, I think, is really cool. I mean, it still costs them an arm and a leg probably to make all these molds, but I think this is the best scale for Napoleonics. I think this is like I reckon the best. 28 mils nice. Don't get me wrong. I think they look cool, but I think if you want to get people into it, I think small is the way to go. It's not as intimidating as it looks. You can get decent results by not putting a huge amount of effort in. And I think that you can play big battles. It won't cost as much. You don't need a giant table because like Black Powder needs quite a big table to play. It won't be an ungainly mess. I think that having units like these guys and everything, and like smaller, if they were any bigger, I reckon it would be a lot of work. So on Saturday, I'm getting the big box. From the sound of things, I might be getting the big box. It's not for certain, but it probably high chance there is. So in that you basically get Landwehr cavalry, Uhlans, Hussars, Dragoons. I just got these guys to paint up and see what they were like. Prussian infantry, a windmill, and brigade commanders. So you get a decent amount of stuff. I think you get like 8 units of Prussian infantry, and I think 5 units of Landwehr. So you get a lot of stuff. And I think the thing is, like, with the great thing about the Prussians is it's almost a one-drop set. Like, if you bought that, you don't need multiple. You just go, okay, cool. Boom, done. Whole army finished. These guys are good for a laugh. I need to find out where the other commanders are.